Hello everybody, in this short video I'm going to review for you this plastic, portable, airtight watercolor palette by Mijello. Let's take a look at it. Alright, let's take a closer look at this palette. As we can see, it's made out of plastic. And when you open it up, it looks like this. It has 18 wells all around it here. And you can see how I have it set up from yellow here through the reds and blues and greens and over, and I've got a couple browns over here. Again, 18 wells. There's quite a few pros for this particular watercolor palette. First of all, one of the pros are it has this removable plastic mixing area which goes up in here, okay, and it's really easy to remove it and wash it, which I just did, and stick it back in there ready to go. Love that about this. It's also airtight and watertight, so it has a rubber gasket around the outside edge here. When you close it and latch it, it will stay closed. So if you're out in the field painting and you're done painting and your paints have not had a chance to dry yet, you don't have to fear. You can just go ahead, close it, put it back in your bag, and it's not going to leak all over the place, which is great. Another pro about this, pretty big wells. This holds quite a bit of paint and bigger than some of the other palettes. I have some other videos that review some metal palettes, a little bit smaller, and their wells are smaller, the pans are smaller, and I like these. I also like the fact that they are slanted like this, and so the water and the paint will kind of accumulate down in the lower end of the palette here. As you can see that maybe a little closer as you look at the way those are laid out. I like that. Another great thing about this palette is multiple large mixing areas. Now again, this isn't really a studio palette. I have a different palette that I use in my studio. This is more of a traveling palette, more of a plein air, outdoor, or just a student palette, so you're moving to and from class, things like that, where a heavy studio palette really wouldn't work very well. But this is very portable, and given its size, which is fairly small compared to some palettes, it has very large mixing areas. The one here in the lid, which we've already shown you, and then in addition to these other two that have a slight division between them. So you could create some pretty big mixes of colors if you had to do large washes, and I like that. I've mentioned several pros for this particular palette, lots of things I like about this. The only thing that I could say that is not a positive, more of a con, is that if it's used as a travel palette or plein air, there is no ring at the bottom that you could stick your thumb through. And so that could make it a little bit difficult if you were trying to use this out plein air and you needed to hold it for long periods of time. No thumb ring. Another thing that I want to show, the way I like to set this up, is because this is removable here, this plastic area, this mixing area is removable, as I already showed, I can go ahead and take a piece of watercolor paper that I have laid out the colors in the same order as I have them here, and I can swatch those out. And so I have kind of a portable swatching reference to all my colors, and I really like that. I'm going to swatch these out in a minute here in this video, and then you'll see what this looks like when it gets it all done. Okay, I'm ready to swatch out the colors on this piece of watercolor paper. I'm using 140-pound arches. I went ahead and drew out here the spaces for the 18 wells that are represented on my palette, and I went ahead and used a Sakura Pigma Micron 0.05 pen, which is archival ink and waterproof, to go ahead and write the names in here so that I can reference the actual paints that I have in this palette, which I find really helpful for me to keep track of what the colors are. If you're a beginning artist too and you're just learning all these different colors, I think it's really, really helpful to swatch out your palette and the colors that you have. You start to learn the names, you start to learn how one blue is different than another, and that the real subtle differences, and that can be really helpful. Okay, I'm using a number 8 silver black velvet round brush here, and I'm just going to start with my yellow and upper right corner, and I'm going to put in a real dark application of the color and then pull with water on the brush, pull that into a more light. I'm even painting right over the name of the color there because I want to see, by doing that, just how transparent that color is. Next we have the Permanent Yellow Deep. And I'm trying to keep these colors from touching each other. I don't want them to really blend on the paper, so we've got that there. So going on to my next one, Yellow Orange is my third color. And I'm pulling out a nice pure color of that and swatching that in. You can see it's a real beautiful orange color. These colors, by the way, that I'm swatching are for the most part of the Mijello Mission Gold set, which is a very affordable set, especially for beginners. If you're looking for a full set of colors that you can begin with, I think it's a great set to start with. I believe it's manufactured in Korea, and but it's a real high quality set, and I can recommend it. Okay, we're going around the color swatch paper here. I'm going to turn this because I want to get the darkest color near the edge of the paper and then draw it in. It's easier to do that from this direction. My next color here is Permanent Rose. More of a, it's got a pinkish quality, so a little more blue in it than the previous red. You can see that there, beautiful color. Next we have Rose Madder, which has even a little bit more blue in it. So again, as we move around, it's a little bit darker color than the Permanent Rose. Rose Madder, it's called. Obviously, is the way the colors are set up on my palette, and as the way I'm in the order in which I'm swatching them here, is really I'm moving now towards the blues, from the reds to the blues, and I'm going in the direction of the color wheel. So here we have Permanent Violet. Trying to really wash my brush off well in between. And again, I'm trying to swatch this out to kind of a light application. As we know with watercolor, watercolor will always dry much lighter in tone and value than what you see there. So you don't have to worry about that. It'll dry a little lighter. Next we have Cerulean Blue, really beautiful blue, great for skies. And we see that there. My next color is Cobalt Blue. And I'm painting right over the names there. Again, I'm trying to lighten the application where the words are, because I do want to be able to see through the colors and just see how transparent that color can be when applied very lightly. And so that's why I'm doing it that way. The next color is Peacock Blue. Now this is a kind of a turquoise color, really pretty color. I really like a lot. You can see it there. Peacock Blue. Next we have our standard Ultramarine Blue. Very common color on most palettes. Considered by many to be their primary blue. Lots of different blues to choose from, that is for sure. Okay, we see that. Next we have a color I really like, Indigo. Indigo is a grayish, a bluish gray. Bluish gray. Trying to make sure I get a nice pure application of that. I use this color a lot in my paintings, indigo. Next is Viridian. This is what it's called in the Mijello Mission Gold set. Might be called Phthalo Blue in some other brands. Viridian. Really brilliant gem-like green. Next we have Hooker's Green. Green, a dark, deep green. Something you might use in a lot of landscapes. And then next we have Sap Green. We're turning the corner here, down in this corner section of the palette. Sap Green. Oops. Getting a little bit of a blending between those two colors, and I don't want that. Try not to touch these two colors. I want them to be pure for the sake of my reference on my palette. Alrighty, I'm going to turn the corner here. Okay, again, next, these last three colors here are along the end of my palette here. And these are yellow ochre, raw sienna, and burnt sienna. So some yellowy brown and brown colors. Again, a really common set of colors on most people's palettes. Yellow ochre. Really a beautiful color, golden yellow. Raw sienna. Many of these color names come from the old masters who painted in oil. And Siena is a city or region in Italy, I think a city. And sienna was a color that was taken right out of the earth in that area of Italy. And so this is a color from that region and used ever since. There we go, burnt sienna. So raw sienna, then burnt sienna. So that's my full 18 colors that represents the Mijello Mission Gold set of colors. I will link that set of colors in the description below in this video. I'm also going to link to you, in the video description, a link to this particular palette. Again, this is also by Mijello, and this is their 18 well airtight palette that is a great travel student palette made of plastic, great areas for mixing, nice removable area up here. And in a moment, once my swatching is all dry, I'm going to go ahead and put that in this area here, and you'll see what that looks like when I get done. Okay, I'm all done swatching this out. I've dried it with a hair dryer. I'm ready to take the tape off. Isn't that one of the most satisfying things you do in the painting process, is remove that tape? And you know it's done. I love it. And also I just love a freshly swatched palette of colors like this. Absolutely love it. So this is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to take my palette. Again, this is the Mijello Airtight 18 well watercolor palette. And again, it has this removable plastic mixing area, and I can remove it quite easily. And I went ahead and cut out this paper just to fit in there and labeled it and then swatched it. And now you can see what a great way of having a reference for all your colors right here on your watercolor palette. So as you paint, again, you have that reference, and you can be really aware of what colors you're using throughout your painting. I didn't want to paint throughout this area because, again, I like to mix my colors on a white surface as much as possible. So some people might not like having the colors there, but it doesn't bother me. Again, I like having the reference to the colors. I have that portable reference of colors along with a big mixing areas that does have the white background, and I just love it. I think this works really well. So if this video was helpful to you, please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you're notified the next time I put out a video. Everything that's referenced in this particular video, from the palette itself to the colors, the pigments, watercolor paints that I used in here, as well as the brushes, will all be referenced and will be linked in the description below the video. Hope this has been helpful. Have a great day. See you in the next video.